For more than 2 decades, I have written in a diary almost every single day. And guess what? I saved them all. Each week, I will be reading from these archives and getting to know myself from the lens of my 10, 16, 25, and 36-year-old self. We'll explore big topics such as body image, queerness, divorce, addiction, mental health, and friendship. I'll read cringy poems and attempt to find compassion for the painful tenderness of my younger self. Join the drama of me and my guests as we explore our boy-crazy, closeted, angsty selves, one stupid page at a time. Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome to part 2 of my trip to Thailand. If you listened to last week's episode, you know that I traveled to Thailand to escape my life in early 2019. I was newly single, newly bankrupt, and just absolutely beside myself with sadness, loneliness, frustration, and I was also hungry for adventure and solitude and connection. And it was a beautiful trip and lots of adventures, lots of amazing food. Again, if you haven't listened to last week's episode, I encourage you to go have a listen because I talk a lot about food and I share the experience of traveling through Chiang Mai with my best friend and all that brought. I'm actually going to start this episode off with my last day in Koh Samui with my best friend Jason, and the next entry starts with I'm en route to Koh Samui. So here's the last entry about Chiang Mai, and then we'll get into Koh Samui. Jason and I met up in the morning and went for 3 lunches. Ha! We just ate and ate and ate. We went to a market, Chinatown, and a cafe to beat the heat. It was a productive and wonderful day. In the late afternoon, he asked if I wanted to get a cold beer, so we sat on the patio and had 2 pitchers. We talked a lot and ate Chiang Mai sausage on a stick and rice in bamboo. We covered some never-before-covered topics and then left the pub to go to the market and had 3 dinners. Ha! Full. Was a heavy day, but I'm glad I got to try so much. An early night for sleep and then up first thing this morning for the temple on the hill. He was a bit cranky this morning. I tried to just ignore it and stayed mostly quiet. I wish I could have had some alone time in that temple, actually, to pray and meditate, perhaps in a different temple. Either way, it was a wonderful morning, and I was so grateful to be there with him. Then we went for khao soi. The same way we started the trip is how he dropped me off. How lovely. He dropped me off at the airport, and all is well. I'm on the plane now. Yeah, I remember those couple of days, the last couple of days in Chiang Mai. We had so much time together and we fit so much in. Most of it was concerning food because Jason and I are both chefs and food lovers, and he had been to Thailand so many times and had kind of sourced out all the best places to eat, and he really wanted me to have a great experience in Chiang Mai, and I did. And so we tried to fit a lot into those last couple days, eating, 3 lunches, 3 dinners. I remember that day because we went to Chinatown and we got a bunch of different fruits, and I got to try like a bunch of fruits that I'd never tried before. And we just like sat on the curb and like ate fruit, and, then we sat at a bar and drank beer. Then we sat at a restaurant and ate dinner and walked around. And then the next day going to that temple was really beautiful. Yeah, I think I was craving a little bit more of like the spiritual experience at the temple, but I was really glad for how it all turned out. And yeah, just a beautiful last couple days, and then yeah, I was on my way to Koh Samui. So the next entry goes en route to Koh Samui. As much as I miss Jason already, I am very much looking forward to arriving in a new place. Jason is such a big part of my past. He's my childhood. He's my history. He's my heart. And it hurts to see him tired of travel. It hurts to see him lonely. He wants more. So, yeah, I think I was feeling a bit sad after leaving Chiang Mai. I was feeling worried. I was feeling worried about my bestie, and I shared a bit more about that in my last episode. So again, if you haven't listened, but we're going to move on from that now, and I'm going to move on to what's going on in Koh Samui. On the plane ride to Koh Samui, I wrote a lot. I was feeling very introspective and was writing about my shadow side. Like I was writing about how I've been like pulling away from the people that I love. I wrote that I think I was writing this about W, who is what I'm naming the man that I was dating when I left for Thailand. We'd been dating on and off for a couple of months, and he was a really great guy, but I was in a really bad place to be dating, and I really like to pick him apart. I really like to focus on the negative aspects of him to make myself feel better about being so distant from him. So I said, I can see that when W is being overly negative or complaining, it is often because he is suffering. And when we encounter those people, which we simply cannot avoid, we can choose to go down their path with them, or we can stay on our own path, pack them with love, and send them on their way. Sometimes I live in the future. On this trip so far, I've been thinking of W, stuck in the future of what it will be like in the future instead of living in the now. I know why it feels easier to live in the future since it is so out of our control. I suppose for the same reason it feels easier to be attached to W, to tell him how much I miss him, even though I haven't thought about him as much as I've told him I have. Maybe it will be different when when I'm by myself on the island, again, living in the future. And maybe this is just what adultish relationships look like. Adultish relationship, that's funny. Maybe it doesn't have to feel like it's this intense attachment when I'm traveling alone. Maybe that's not healthy, but this is. I'm grateful that W was okay with me going here alone. I mean, I never would have stuck around if he wasn't, but that doesn't mean I can't be grateful that he is, in fact, been very cool with it. That's not something everyone does. It's not something all relationships could stand. Future. Should I tell W I want to be exclusive? Is that something I am perhaps craving right now? I wrote, traveling alone, like really traveling, is not one of life's greatest blessings. Is not only one of life's greatest blessings, but it is also one of the most challenging things you can go through. It is an honor to be invited into someone else's culture. It is a privilege to live a life that enables me to do so several times a year. Yeah. So as you can see, I'm sort of like half pining for this man, but I'm also like not really missing him that much. And that felt troubling for me. I was trying to rationalize it as like, oh, we're in a healthy relationship, but I definitely felt off that I wasn't pining. So again, I'm feeling very introspective, and I think definitely beginning to get even more homesick because I've been with someone for the last couple weeks, and now I'm on my own. And you'll see how that kind of plagues me throughout the next couple of entries. I write, I actually thought about Mike, that's my ex that I was with for 7 years. I actually thought about Mike for literally a micro minute today. On the Sontam truck to the mountain, I was looking out a little window, air on my neck, and I thought of him for just a second, long enough to take a deep breath in, give a little teeny tiny nod of love, breathe out, and let it go. I don't know if we ever would have come here together. If we did, this trip would have, of course, not been the same, and that's okay. We had many adventures. We had many memories while traveling, but now it's my time. I also thought for a micro minute about, we'll call him C. It's been a long time since I thought of him as well, and I don't even know why he fluttered into my heart space when he did. I thought about what a hard time that was in my life. I kind of thought, what was I thinking? I was just so incredibly lost. Sleeping with him, no matter how wonderful it was such a mistake. You know, I miss Carlin and Amber and Genevieve and routine and my home. I'm looking forward to going back. So yeah, definitely feeling homesick. I can hear it in that entry. The next day I write, it's W's show tonight back home. I took the time to message him a good luck note this morning, and I hope he appreciates it. I really do waver between missing him and not missing him. It's just not in that desperate longing way I've been used to my whole life. I wish he was here in this solitary beach hut with me. It's beautiful and quiet. The off season on the quiet side of the island, pure bliss. I've got my feet up, breeze on my face, ocean lapping, waves crashing, and it smells like salt and sweat. Bliss. I'm going to try to be present today and for the rest of my time here. I'm going to try to live here in this moment. Yesterday I arrived, very easy getting here. This place is a little rustic, but a seriously fantastic location. I can almost touch the water. I lounged on the beach for an hour or so, feeling the sun color my skin. This is what I wanted. Then I moved to the hammock where I fell asleep for a few minutes while reading my book. That hammock life. Then I wrote, note to self, get a comfy hammock for your porch. I met my neighbor, an old English man named Rod. He's been here for 20 years and told me about how much this place has been developed since he arrived. He was nice, introduced me to a few of his friends and his 2 dogs, Betty and Charlie. I watched the sunset over the water while eating sunflower seeds, wondering where to get water and food. Made my way down to the beach restaurant just a few feet away, had a solo pad thai and a beer, and I guess just longed for some company. Loneliness is setting in a little, I suppose. Perhaps I'll stay at a hostel after this. It's actually a little strange to not know where I'm going next. I came home right after eating early, 8 p.m. Felt tired from my week in the city and my day in the sun, so I crawled into bed, actually fell right asleep and woke at 11:30 to video chat with Genevieve. We talked for a while. I miss her muchly. I slept a solid 12 hours, give or take. Thought about getting up to watch the sunrise, but another time, I guess. Had leftovers and tea, and now I'm sitting in the shade. I could do anything today. I think I'll walk along the beach and see what I find. Tomorrow might be raining. I'd love to sit here in this spot and work on the book. The world is mine for the next 3 days. Staying present, it's my only goal. I wrote at the bottom, fantasies of coming home skinny and tanned. So stupid. Later. The sun sets on a beautiful day, and I'm here to see it, bursting with gratitude for an epic solo day. Although I got way too much sun, got a burn, and I'm feeling those effects now. It was a day of solitude and laziness. I did walk to the end of where I can see on the island, which I realized when I got there was in the opposite direction of the port. I was hoping I might stumble on some oranges or fruit for sale, but instead it was a 3 to 4 kilometer walk of untouched beach both ways, which I am certainly not complaining about. I took a few dips in the sea to cool off, but it was, however, quite hot, and in the first few moments I worried if I was going to have enough water. At the end of the stretch, I found a little beachside resto bar, a godsend, where I spent all the cash I had on me on two, can't read what it says, but I think it's a cocktail. Oh, caipirinhas. 2 caipirinhas and a yummy papaya salad. It was bliss. Sat there talking to myself, thinking and observing the moment I am blessed with before heading back. On my way back, I went swimming a few more times again, certainly feeling the effects of a bit too much sun. Came back and hammocked for the next several hours while listening to a podcast. It's Saturday night and perhaps Nico and Jimmy will have a party. I think those were my neighbors, perhaps. Yes, those were my hosts, the hosts. Who knows? I may spend the night alone. I'm getting used to this solitude. I'm much better at it now than I once was. Perhaps because I have this beautiful life to go home to. Perhaps because I can't wait to see little Nowie girl and to see my girls and Genevieve and Dad, Omi and Opie, and of course, W. I miss his embrace and was thinking of him warmly today. It's close to 7. I've got the evening to do what I will, plan the future, watch Netflix, cook spaghetti, go next door to eat, work on the book, who knows. I think tomorrow I'll get up early, do yoga on the beach, go for a little swim, and try to head to Nathan's Pier. Maybe I'll stay and I'll tend to my sunburn and force myself to get some editing done and finish my book. The world is mine. Either way, nothing to do and nowhere to go. That was the plan. The plan was that I was going to wake up the next day and go do yoga on the beach and then like maybe go for a swim and just like rest and chill. So the next day I woke up and actually I woke up in the morning and I heard like noises coming from next door, and I knew that they said they were having a party the night before, so I was like, maybe it's party remnants, whatever. And then I woke, like, I didn't get up, so I went back to sleep. I woke up again at like a normal time, and there was a note on my like porch setup thing that was from my house that said they were taking off for the rest of the week to enjoy my stay. They were like, if you need anything, you can ask Rod, who was like the neighbor, which was a little bit, I thought, I just didn't know. It was surprising. I didn't know that they'd be gone. Like, I didn't know that I'd be, like, by myself. And the other thing that they said in the note was, we didn't have time to go get you more drinking water, but there's a shop up the beach, and they left some cash. And we're like, because they provide water, so they left some cash. So I didn't know that I was going to wake up with no drinking water, and I had drank a ton the night before because I was sunburnt. And so I woke up and I was like so thirsty already, and I had like, half a cup of drinking water. So I chugged that, and then I'm just like, okay, I better go to this like place down the beach to get water. And I didn't know like which way on the beach they were talking about, but the day before I had walked like 3 or 4 kilometers up the beach, and I didn't see any shops. The only place, civilization, I saw was the little beach resto bar that I saw the day before, but it was like, I wouldn't have been able to walk that far without water because I had like none. I was already really hot. This was morning. It was maybe 9 or 10 a.m. and it was already hot. And so I decided, okay, well, it must be the other way down the beach. So I start walking. I actually stopped at Rod's, my neighbor, the only other human on this beach, to ask him for confirmation, but he wasn't home. So I start walking down the beach, and I'm like just kind of miserable because I was thirsty and hot and sunburnt and hungry. Just none of my like basic needs are being met. And so I keep walking, and I'm just with myself. I might have had earbuds and my phone to play music, or I don't even know if I did, because there were parts of the beach where you kind of had to like go in the water to like get around certain buildings and stuff. So I'm walking for a bit and I can't see any shops. It's just beach. It's just like raw, bare beach. And so I'm like, well, I don't have a choice. I have to just keep walking because I'm so thirsty. And I start getting quite worried because I'm really, really dehydrated. And I'm not feeling well. And I saw three people on this venture. I saw a couple, which I felt bad about because she was tanning topless, and when she saw me, she put her top on, and I wanted to be like, oh, you don't have to. But then I was like, oh, whatever, you know. I say hi to them. They don't speak English. I keep going. It's fine. I could have maybe asked them where water was, but again, I was just like, I was on a mission. I was like, I'm on a mission to get water. I didn't see another person for like probably an hour. And when I saw this other guy, he was on like a moped, and I waved him down. He was Thai, and he spoke like a couple words in English, and so I was like making the motion for water, drink, like showing him like money, like to be like, where can I buy water? And he's like pointing in the direction of, so like the landscape in front of me is like, to the left it's beach, it's all beach, and then I'm on the sand, and to the right it's like thick forest. There's nothing else. There's like, I don't even know like where this man came from. I'm like, how is he here on this bike? What's happening? So he's pointing to like the forest, and I was like, I'm not going into the forest, like, you know. And then he's trying to tell me to like get on his bike. Now, I'm a firm believer in trust your gut. When traveling, especially, you have to trust your gut. You have to like, if something in you is like, don't go down that street, then like don't go down the street. If something in you is like, don't buy this from this person, don't buy it from that person. Just trust your gut. I've learned this lesson the hard way. I've been gifted with this lesson in multiple different aspects of travel. Cannot emphasize it enough. My body was giving me no signals of like, don't trust this guy, because I was so hungry and thirsty and tired and hot. And so I, for some reason, decided to like get on his bike and go into the forest. Now I'm laughing, so obviously this story doesn't have a tragic ending. In fact, it has a funny ending, because he drives through the forest. There's like a path, and we're probably only in the forest for, I'm going to say 30 seconds. And right beyond the forest, which looks like super thick, there's a road and a village, and like shining there, like the bright pearly gates of heaven, is a 7-Eleven. And I have all the water I need. So he drops me off, and I'm like, thank you, Swadika. Like, I'm just like praying and thanking him, and he's just laughing. Like, he's just like, fucking crazy white girl. Like, you know. So anyways, I go in the 7-Eleven. I buy as much water as I can carry. I buy these like big, 2-liter bottles. I think I buy some like chips or something, or sandwich. And then I start walking back to where I'm staying. And I actually walk like kind of through the forest because it's shaded. And I get back to where I'm staying, and I'm just like unwell. Like I'm just like, what the hell? Because like, I don't know. I always think back to those moments and think like, what could have happened? So thank you to that young gentleman who gave me a ride to the 7-Eleven. And thank you to my body for giving me signals when needed. March 24th, 2019. I'm sitting in the little sunroom at the guest house in Koh Samui. My 20-year-old self would never have believed this. I suppose I feel lonely. I miss my home and my friends. I miss my sister and dad and Naui, and I'm grateful that Genevieve sent me pictures today. I miss the comforts associated with my home, space, things, people, and places I know. But I'm trying to stay in this moment instead. I'm trying to recognize the lapping water, the tiny raindrops compelling me to stay here on my porch instead of in my hammock, the sounds of small bird chirps that'll be replaced tonight with loud cicadas and that funny gecko noise, the feeling of yesterday's sand on the back of my neck, the feeling of sweat mixed with sunscreen and the way my skin burns. I'm trying to stay here with all of it. I thought of Mike today. It's been the second time on this trip. It's not at all in a longing kind of way, just in a remembering, I guess. I wondered for a minute what he was doing. What is he doing right in this moment? If he's lonely, if he's happy. It's amazing in a way how little I think of him, even when I work on the book. I don't know how I got here, or if here is where is best for me. All I know is that one day I woke up and I just didn't think of him anymore. I suppose W plays a part in that, and I'm happy to have him as a distraction. I don't know if he'll ever be more than just a distraction. The going in between feeling so warm for him, pulling him in and wanting to feel safe. I go from that to being completely annoyed with everything that comes out of his mouth. Harsh. Like today, he told me that his show didn't go great, that he was lonely and he missed me greatly. I got so annoyed when he said all that, and those are just a few things that make me want to pull back, you know? But yesterday when I was swimming in that ocean by myself, I had a make-believe conversation where I told him that I loved him. I asked him what he was thinking about. In my fantasy, he was looking at me fondly, as he does, and I had to tell him. You know, I'm like totally in love with you, right? You don't have to say anything. And you don't have to say it back now or ever, but I think when you feel that way about someone, they should know. And I'm not sure if I do. I think I do, sometimes. But there are aspects of him and his life that are really challenging. But there are so many wonderful things too. So perhaps I could try to focus on those. Okay, the Wi-Fi went out and I'm panicked a little. I'm just feeling super off today. So, this is one of those times, I've had many of these on this podcast. This is one of those times where how I thought I felt about something is in total misalignment with how I was actually feeling according to my journal. I thought that, like, while I was in Thailand, I didn't miss this person, W, at all. And that's what caused me to, like, end things with him when I got back. But the reality is like, I spent a lot of my trip missing him and thinking of him. But I also, because we had time apart, and because we weren't, like, I had kind of, like, a detox of him, like, our sex life and this kind of like ravenous relationship that we had. And in that detox, I was able to like reflect and actually think about the actual realities of the relationship. And when I was able to think about it, I realized that we were just like not a match. And I don't think there's anything necessarily bad or wrong with that, but I do know that as this trip progressed, I got more and more anxious about the idea of coming home and continuing to be with him. And that was a definite source of stress while I was away. Okay, so I said in my last episode that I think I said something along the lines of like, if you want to supercharge your healing and get super duper introspective, what you need to do is you need to go book yourself a ticket to somewhere and go away for like at least a week by yourself. And when I say by yourself, I mean you're not like staying with friends, you're not like meeting up with people, you're truly, truly by yourself. This can be on a solo beach like I did, or it can be in a city, it doesn't matter. But what happens to me when I do that is I always get so reflective to the point where like I figure out more in that 1 week that I'm away about like what I want and what I'm doing and what I need than I do in like the whole year. I remember like 2 years ago, I was in Seattle by myself for a couple days, and just like the stuff that was coming to me about like just, yeah, what I wanted, what I needed, like what I was perplexed by. And I really honed in on like myself. This is an example of me honing in on myself. I go from like feeling kind of like uncertain and lonely and homesick and anxious to like just this explosion of self-discovery. So I say, didn't sleep well last night, trouble falling asleep, in and out of touching myself, and then watching TV. I was woken up this morning by a big thunderstorm, and I tried not to be scared, but I didn't fall back into a deep sleep. I got up and showered. Man, my burn is sore. And went on an adventure walk. Rod drew me a map, and it was closer, easier than I thought to get to the shops, but I was still proud of myself when I made it there. I got some chips, some pop, and some ramen, which I just gobbled up. I'm listening to a podcast. It's a spiritual episode, and it's making me want to read the Celestine Prophecies and David McGilvary's book. It makes me want to expand and to meditate. I've been wondering where the lessons of this trip are. I've been wondering if it's met my expectations in terms of what I wanted to get out of it. I've been wondering about self and why I've been avoiding her, why I've been avoiding quiet and alone time and filling her up with made-up stories, with pictures from my past, with television, with podcasts, with Instagram. What am I afraid of facing? Brilliance? A book that's finished? Creativity? Truth? Solitude? It's scary. But that's why I came here, is it not? Could I not watch television in silence at home? Should I not be enjoying the sound of the raindrops or my straw hut? On my straw hut. Should I not be looking out in the ocean and wondering who I am compared to the sea? Is it okay that my old habits are coming to the surface? But girl, get ready to purge. I can't wait to detox when I get home. I've been wanting to since the retreat, since my birthday, since New Year's Eve, since before. I can't wait to do a physical cleanse and get into some wicked healthy habits. Here's the thing. If I can dream it, I can do it. I'm strong as fuck. Look at all the other things I have accomplished. Detoxing, getting healthy, becoming more active, quitting smoking and drinking for 1 month. These are all the things that I can do 10,000% if I put my mind to it. Because I want to live a long time. I want to live a big, full life. And I can't do that if I'm polluting my body. I can't do that if I'm angry at myself, feeling bloated, complaining to myself and others, and lying all the time. A memory just flashed of the time one of the so I'm not going to say the name, but one of the Blank brothers called me a liar when he was drunk. Everyone was thinking it, and how ashamed I was that they all knew, and how I wanted to tell someone so badly, but I never actually got to that point, and I've still never gotten past it. I also have been thinking about Mark a lot today. That's my friend who passed away. It feels, I guess, totally surreal that he's really, really gone. It doesn't feel real. Maybe I had a dream that I was at his visitation last night, but it wasn't at Pine Knot. It was at his house, and I was standing in his bedroom. I'm sad that I didn't really get to say goodbye to him the way I wanted to. I wonder if I contributed to his pain in the end. If he were still here, I suppose I wouldn't have done anything differently except sent more love if I could have. All we can do is be love. When I feel annoyed with W, I can be mindful of that and send him love instead. When Mom says something that rubs me the wrong way, I can understand that she is never trying to intentionally hurt me. When I feel jealousy for relationships, I can just take a breath, give it love, and let it go, instead of letting it control me. Reading about the most recent time when W rejected me in the morning, I don't know what that was about. he has brought it up since, how I reacted, how I got really quiet. It hurt, because it's not the first time it's happened, and it won't be the last, I'm sure, because he has his moods and he's entitled to those. And I'm wondering if that's about my own expectations instead. How nice would it be to be in love, to want to share my life with someone, my life, my secrets, my pain, my trauma, my energy, to be bathed by someone, to swim naked in the ocean, to confidently straddle their face. How nice would it be if someone stood over me when the sun was glistening around their head, leaned in to give me a kiss, and told me how much they loved me? How nice would it be if Omi and Opie could meet them before they go? Am I loved like that and I just can't see it? So basically, I'm conversing with one of the neighbors, and they come and check on me, and I tell them I'm like leaving the next day, and they're like, oh, you haven't even had the chance to like come to a beach party. And so they convinced me that night to go with them to a beach party, which I can walk to from my place. And I had kind of seen these parties, because like you can see they have these big fires like on the beach, and there's like lots of people come. But because it's like a quiet island, I wouldn't say it was like a crazy beach. It definitely wasn't like a full moon party or anything like that. But there was some people, and Rod and Nico, the family that I went with, they were really nice and introduced me to all their friends. So I end up meeting these two girls. I had met them a couple days prior when I was just like in the town, and they recognized the Canada flag on my little backpack. And they were these two girls from Vancouver, and both of their names were Chelsea. So I always called them Chelsea 1 and Chelsea 2. And we had exchanged numbers. And so I had told them where I was staying, and they kind of were like, oh, isn't that near where like the beach parties are? And I was like, yeah, I haven't been to one. I'm like kind of, hanging out by myself. And they're like, that was it. And then a couple days later, when Nico and Rod invited me to the beach party, I had texted the girls and was like, hey, if you guys are around tonight, come to the beach party. I'm going to be there at like 8 or whatever. So we all meet up at this beach party. And I'm having a lot of fun, because it's like this feel of like, even though I've only known these girls for like a day, and same as Rod and Nico, like I've only known them for like a couple days, it just feels like they're the closest things I have to friends and community, because they're the only people I know at this party. And so we're all hanging out, and we get into this conversation about how, like, they were asking us about life in Canada, and we were telling them how, like, they were asking us if, like, what they have heard about Canadians is true, and, like, are we that nice, and do we apologize all the time? And they also were like, is weed legal in Canada? And we were like, yeah, it is, and it's, like, just, like, part of everyday culture. And then we started talking about, like, smoking weed, and I kind of was like, yeah, I used to smoke a lot of weed, I don't really smoke weed anymore, but me and the two Chelseas were like, maybe we should try to find some weed. And so we, like, I don't even know how that turned into, like, the next thing, but basically someone at this party came, like, this guy came up to us and was like, I heard you girls are looking for weed. And he was, like, really hot. I will admit, he was really hot. He was from Central America, and he was an expat, and he was, like, living in Thailand, and he actually, like, lived very close to where the fires were, the campfire. And for some reason, similar to when the guy from the episode earlier in the episode was like, get on the back of my bike, and I was like, okay. This guy was like, why don't you girls come to my place and I'll sell you some weed? And we were like, sure. And so we all walk together, and it's kind of like this little foursome, and it's like me and Chelsea, and then one of Chelsea 2, and Chelsea 1 is like walking with this guy in front of us, and he's like leading us down the beach to his place. And it's getting darker and darker because we're getting farther away from, like, the big beach fire. And he has, like, this little beach hut thingy, and he's got, like, little string lights out front, and it looks very cozy and quaint, and we're like, oh my god, this is so cool.
And so he's like, okay, wait here. And he's got this kind of like veranda thing that's like half inside, half outside. And he goes, okay, sit here, wait here, and I'm going to go get the weed. So when he's gone for a couple minutes, and we're all sitting there and we're counting our like money that we have. And because we're kind of trying to convert like I wonder how much like weed costs here. If it's like X amount back home, how many baht do we need? And we're trying to do this like conversion. And we're both just like ripping like cash bills, crumpled up bills out of our pocket and like throwing it on like the center table thingy. And we're just in the midst of this like calculation. And all of a sudden we look up and this guy is standing there and he's ass naked, just completely naked, like head to toe, nothing on, no socks, no shoes. And he's just standing there with like this grin on his face and he's like stroking his dick. And I don't know how much time passed. I don't know what our faces looked like. I'm pretty sure I was just like aghast. And I just grabbed both the girls' hands and like I was like, Chelsea 1, Chelsea 2, run! So we ran out the veranda and just like straight down the beach back to the beach party. And he never came back. Like we never saw him again. We never told anyone. I didn't feel, honestly, I'm sure if I would have been alone, I would have felt like very scared and violated. But because we were together, it was honestly more of like a funny thing more than anything. I mean, obviously completely inappropriate, but like, yeah, it was just, now it's just a funny travel story. But yeah, so sketchy. So don't just go to random dudes' houses when you're traveling. Lesson learned. So anyways, after that night, I went back to my little place and I was really hungover the next day. And I had to get up and find a way from where I was staying to the next place. I'm pretty sure I walked. Yeah, I think I walked. But the next day I write, W asked me today if I was homesick. I guess I'm not. It feels strange, I guess. I guess because I'm not running from anything at home and because I'm trying to be present. And as I mentioned to W, I have a smartphone and Wi-Fi everywhere, which just makes it different. I'm not sure he gets me. I'm not sure if I miss him. I mean, I can recall how desperately I missed Josh and Corey when I went to Australia. Fuck, it almost broke me. And then when I was in BC, the way I miss Mike and how I then didn't miss him later when I was in St. Lucia. There are lessons here. And perhaps the lesson here is that I'm more grown up now. I'm more grown up and more self-aware, says the girl who just like randomly walked into a guy's house to buy weed. And I've worked really hard to be happy on my own. And it's not as extreme. Nothing is as extreme for me here now. Does that disappoint me? There aren't as many lessons here in Thailand on this trip. What was I hoping for that I haven't found? So, well, then I say I want my life to be something more, maybe. But who am I trying to impress? So yeah, I think that I think that I am just like, you can sense how much I'm flip-flopping back and forth, not just between how I feel about this guy, but like how I feel about myself, how I feel about my body, how I feel about this trip, how I feel about going home. Like everything is contradictory. Later I write, what I'm fantasizing about right now is having a great body this summer. I do this to myself every dang year, but I feel like I have the willpower in this moment to make it happen. I don't know 100% what the best way for me to eat is, but I'd like to figure that out. I think April will just be a big detox month. No grains, no booze, no extra sugar, meat only once a day, think on it, intermittent fasting, ? Yeah, so I'm I'm laughing when I think of April being detox month, because that's the exact opposite of what April was. But speaking of roller coaster, here's 2 entries back to back. Entry 1. This this groove I'm in for a hot minute. Inspiration. I feel it more now in this moment than I have in a long time, but it's not long enough. I want to finish my book, go through, insert all the quotes. I want to write something amazing, but I'm lost. I'm lost and anxious because I know when I go home, I'll be so busy. I'll be filled with work and W and friends and life, and I won't have a full day to work on my book. Stop. Live in the now. You can write right now. So do it, my love. Entry 2. What the fuck am I doing here? I woke up full of anxiety and a nagging feeling that I am wasting my life. If I were at a hostel right now, I could be connecting with someone, a stranger from a faraway place, making conversation, falling in love. If I were with W or someone else who loves me, I could be fucking, being intimate, in leisure, or in pleasure, or at least exploring a new city with some company. If I was at home, I could be waking up, snuggling Nowie. I could be making moves in my business, crushing goals, getting life sorted, intermittent fasting, starting to work out. I could be working on self, being productive, but instead I'm just being lazy and lonely. Yikes. Like, definitely. I can tell I'm getting my period just from, like, the words that I'm using. But yeah, a roller coaster. So this is, like, the next couple days, like, I'm beating myself up because, like, I really haven't, like, worked on my book at all since I've arrived. And that's wasn't my intention. A couple days later, I write, I'm not sure what this weekend was all about. I slept for a good 10 to 12 hours each day, only woke once or twice. But I guess I was just feeling down. I'm thinking of all the what ifs instead of the right nows. Thinking of what I could be doing, when the reality is I chose this. I chose to travel alone. I chose to be here for this amount of time. I chose this resort. I chose ease over discomfort. I chose to be in a room alone, and I paid the cost to only have to walk from the room to the pool if that's what I choose. So can I shake it off, this guilt, this need to do something? Can I shake it off and just relax? Can I be present for the literal earth-shattering beauty that is right in front of me right now? Sunshine, infinity pool, gorgeous clear water, sea, white sand. I want to work on observing that beauty instead of complaining. I've got nothing to do, nowhere to go. I've got time, 4 solid days of time to do whatever I choose. That's a fucking gift. And it's okay if I'm lonely. I don't have any real humans to talk to right now, and that can be really lonely, especially for someone like me, a social creature. LOL. But I have people at home. I have a wonderful, beautiful people who love me, a dog who is waiting for me. I've got a home that I love, and my money situation, even though is plaguing my mind a little at the moment, will be fine. It will all be just fine. Worst case scenarios I'm in bankruptcy longer and I have to pay more, but if that's the case, it's okay. I'll be just fine. Oh no, the anxiety is bubbling up again. Deep breath. I miss W. I told him so this morning, and I'm sure he loved to hear it. Being present and loving for a moment for what it is the same way I need to start thinking about him. All the things that come up in my mind that are bothering me about him, couldn't I just realize that he is a bright blue sea? He is a bright blue sea with sandy beaches. I spent the first week of my trip on a wild food adventure with my oldest friend, uncovering reasons why he can't stop coming back to this place. When I left his company, I landed in a quiet little beach hut on the quiet side of an already tranquil island in the off-season. I spent days speaking to no one. I spent days avoiding myself. And here's where I've ended up. I'm not so bad. I've always liked spending time alone, but noticed lately that I always seem to fill that time with tasks, to-do lists, and the very meaningful work I've grown to love. It's very, very rare that I sit and do nothing. I've become a boss at rebelling against stillness. Sickness, bring it on. It fuels me to get better faster. A bruised tailbone might put me out for a few weeks, but during that time I can wrap up my book and finish my website. What's real stillness, though? I did a thing. I took myself out on a date. I had a shower, shaved my legs, washed off my smell, did my hair, put on some sparkles and my hair and my cute green dress. I'm determined to be proud of myself instead of being bummed out. It's important because I was going to go to bed early eating ramen noodles from 7-Eleven. I spent the afternoon oogling a cute boy who was maybe a military man who was suntanning beside me. He was rubbing his neck and I wanted to rub it for him. I wanted to whisper in his ear that he was perfect. And if I go to bed alone tonight, which I am nearly positive that I will, I can fantasize about him. Why not? And I can miss W too. Or not. It's all perfect. Okay, I'm going to have a third mojito. Okay, so a lot happens in the next couple days. March 28th. It's funny how a few days ago all I wanted to do was go home, and now all I want is more time here. I may not have done this trip right, but it also was exactly what I needed it to be. Who knows? It's almost over. I'm yet to be wowed or moved, but I have had the chance to relax and figure some shit out. I guess I crashed pretty hard last night, went straight back to my room after my mojitos. But I woke up suddenly this morning because I had a nightmare about Dad dying. God, it was so sad. I called a bunch of friends, and then I was sitting in the living room at the house trying to figure out what we were going to do with the house. It was so fucked and terrifying and real. I slept or tried to sleep a few more hours after that and then got up and went to the pool. The whole pool to myself again. I stayed there, flipping over and reapplying sunscreen until I couldn't handle the heat anymore around noon. Went back and showered and then went out. Very similar routine as yesterday because now I'm at Starbucks. I stopped in the mall, in one of those street food malls that Jason would fucking hate to have some masaman curry. My tummy was rumbling and I felt like I had a sugar low. I'm excited to get home and start intermittent fasting and a workout routine. And yes, I'm excited to get back to work and to see W. I wonder if anything has changed. I was thinking about what would happen if I put this in your back pocket, everybody. I was thinking about what would happen if I met someone on this trip. I suppose I couldn't have been physical with them, even though I am not technically committed to W. My heart is tied to him at the moment. Maybe I should tell him that. I also want to keep up this tan when I get home. Fuck, what would I even do if Dad died? It's such a silly thing to think about because, well, someday he will. But, man, that dream scared the shit out of me. I'm aimlessly sitting here, people watching right now, mind-wandering. I haven't hugged someone in over a week. Yeah, so I'm all over the place, as you can tell. And I have one more day on the beach. My last full day by the beach. I plan to stay here for the morning, then get some lunch at the big food mall where I did yesterday. Later, I'm at lunch and I say, mixed smoot fruity is life. Was gonna get some tom yum soup, but you know what? I want a motherfucking chicken wrap. Ha, benefits of traveling alone. No one can judge me and I can eat whatever the fuck I want. In the end, this trip has been perfect because I had a week of roughing it a little, eating only traditional Thai food, staying up late, all the walking, and then I had a week of ease, solitude, writing, reading, listening to podcasts, watching TV, being by myself, swimming, tanning, lazing, eating whatever feels good, early nights and sleeping in, and working on that tan. It was such a good mix. As much as I want to go to the night market tonight, there's a real chance I might opt for some gorgeous solo night on the beach by myself and then have an early night so I can catch my shuttle to the airport tomorrow at 9. We shall see. It would certainly save money and my feet. And I could eat Mr. Noodles again. Yeah. Yeah, so I spend that day in a cafe working on my book. I got a lot of writing done, and I'm like drinking mojitos by the beach later. I decided not to go to the night market. It's exciting as it sounded. I think I saw the best of the best in Chiang Mai with Jason, and I'll see the biggest one ever in Bangkok tomorrow. Bangkok tomorrow. I can't believe it. I can't believe that I'll be in frickin' Bangkok. If 20-year-old me could see me now. No, I decided to have a few more mojitos and take in the last of this beautiful beach, and it's good. It's taken me a full week, but I can see now the value in this stillness, in this breath, in this calm. Being bored is a gift I used to beg for, a vacation to myself. Fuck, this is bliss. And yes, it has taken me a week to settle into the present moment of being here for this moment, trying not to live in who I was a week ago when I got to Koh Samui, or who I was 2 weeks ago when I got to Thailand, or who I was, Thailand, and trying my best not to live in the future in all the things I have to do when I get home, in longing to visit with friends. I just want to live in the now, and know that they're all waiting. A memory just flashed the night I tried to break it off with W, and how he said with sadness, "Oh, fuck." And all that time I was holding your hand at the Grand Theater. That must have sucked so hard for you, eh? I should have just told him that it didn't suck for me at all. It made him feel so warm and fuzzy. It made me feel so warm and fuzzy. But whatever happened after that, which is right now, I can't really put my finger on. Anyways, I want to forget that moment and move on. I want to be in the kind of loving relationship that I deserve. There, I said it. I said what I want. I did it. Carlin, are you proud? Ha. It's hard to ask for what I want, actually. But it's not that hard. It's easy. It's just scary sometimes. I suppose it's okay to want something with all your heart and be terrified of it at the same time. Here's what I want. To feel like I'm 16 again. To feel safe. To tell someone everything. To be monogamous. To love someone so much, I want to marry them. To introduce them to my family. To bring them to Dad's. To show them my book. To travel with them. I want to be still, be silent, no distractions. I want to go to Vipassana, go to an ashram, travel alone again. I want to publish my book, go on a tour, do public readings, get criticism, get praise, let it all go, hold on. I want to get a new catering kitchen, make an actual semi-permanent decision. I want to invest, risk, spend. I want to let go of patterns that no longer serve me but make me feel safe. I want to let go of C, let go of Bush, let go of Corey. I want to tell the truth. I want to be enough. I want to be skinny. I want to wear my bikini and be goddamn proud of my body. I want to post a scandalous selfie, post a before and after. I want to feel really strong. I want to actually be really strong. I want to set an exercise and eating plan and actually stick to it. I want to feel beautiful in my skin. I want to feel sexy. I want to feel uninhibited without alcohol. I want to tie W to my bed. I want to perform a striptease and ask for what I want. I want to go back to church. I want to find God. I want to pray and meditate. I want to do the things that make me feel best daily. I want to drink more water and tea. I want to actually be sober for a month. I want to eat better. I want to eat less animals. I want to decide who I want to be really honest about that the whole time. Listen more, be more quiet, observe more, stay calm, be gentle, be thoughtful, be a person people can trust, be a person people can talk to, be a person that gives good advice, be a person that does what I say I'm going to do. Wow. 4 pages of what I want. It feels good to acknowledge. Chantel said to me just before I left for this trip that I was going to have so many gifts here in Thailand. And although they're not what I expected, she's certainly not wrong. There have been unlimited gifts. Okay, get ready, guys. I just had a spiritual moment, which may have been brought on by 3 mojitos, but so what? I looked into the sea, knowing it might be the last time for a while, and I talked to her. I told her what I wanted and also what I wanted to release. And then I sang. Loka samusta suke no bhavantu I sang it for Katie, for Steph, for W, for Mike, for C, for everything I need to let go of and make a little peace with. I asked for what I want, and I meant every word. Yeah, so that was a turning point in my life. I had a very very spiritual moment with the sea, and I have written about it a bunch, yet to put it out into the world because I want to get it right. I want to get that moment right. Reading back on that moment made me feel pretty emotional because I remember what it was like to walk into the sea and like ask for things that I was way too scared to say out loud up until that point. And then like seeing what was holding me back in my life, what was holding me back from the life that I wanted. And I did. I went into the sea and said, like, I want to meet someone. I want to fall in love again. I remember saying, I don't want lukewarm love. I don't want lukewarm love. I don't want to be in the in-between. So I left the island the next day and I went to Bangkok for just one day. And I spent the day, traveling by myself in Bangkok, and I really just ate and shopped. There were a couple things that I was looking for clothes wise. I still have pretty much everything I bought there, and yeah, I felt ready to go home, definitely. I felt ready to go home, and I felt different. Like, I felt different the next day. I felt ready to, like, more ready to take on life, and I guess to, like, make some moves in the direction of, like, what I actually wanted for myself. And I didn't know it fully at the time, but I think I knew that I had to leave the relationship that I was in with W, even though I missed him, and I was trying to find ways to make the relationship work. I realized that, like, it wasn't love, or if it wasn't the kind of love that I needed. It was lukewarm. That's the only word that I can use to describe it, which I know feels kind of cruel, but that is what it felt like. And yeah, I asked the sea for more, and then I didn't want to go back on that. So I spent the day in Bangkok. And yeah, so I spent the day in Bangkok. I went on the famous Koh Sand Road and just let myself be a tourist. Went back to my hotel very early because I had to get up at, I think, like 3 or so to catch my flight. So I went to bed. I woke up. I had a shower. I got a cab to the airport, and then my life changed. Honestly, I don't really want to end this podcast on a cliffhanger, but I just read ahead, and I think this needs a part 3, like after Thailand. So I'm actually gonna wait until the next episode to tell you the whole story about how my life changed in the Bangkok airport. If there's any episode you don't want to miss, it's going to be that. Spoiler alert, I fell in love with a man at the airport in Bangkok. It's the most beautiful love story I've ever lived. I can't wait to tell it to you. I actually just wrote the story and submitted it to Modern Love. So this will be good practice. Maybe I'll read my essay here on the air. And again, this wasn't my intention to leave a cliffhanger, but I'm noticing the time and length of this podcast, and I think my next story deserves a whole episode. So I'm going to stop here, and I'll leave you with a quote that I wrote down in this journal a little earlier when I was in Koh Samui. It's okay to let people in and then be sad when they leave. It's okay to accept an apology that you weren't given, and it's okay to give yourself grace even if someone else doesn't. It's okay to want closure, and it's okay to also be afraid of it. I don't know where that quote is from. I put quotation marks around it, and I'm sure I did not write it, but don't know who to give credit to, but I love whoever said that. And I love you all for listening. I'm really excited for part 3. Honestly, I haven't recorded it yet, so I can't say for certain that it's the best episode, but I have a feeling it's going to be a really great episode. After that, I'm going to return to 16-year-old me, and we'll have more stories and more awakenings, more lessons, more love, and more poems, more cringy poems. So I'll see you there. Thanks again so much for listening.